Tom.
Hello everybody, Tom Fox here talking to you about Bethesda's E3 conference. Alright, so, you know, they had their E3 conference on Twitch, and they showed off some pretty solid stuff here, I gotta say. I was a little bit afraid initially because of the whole paid mods thing with Skyrim initially. I don't know if that was a Valve decision or a Bethesda decision, or if they were kind of split evenly on that. But yeah, they didn't mention that at all, so that's pretty good. There's still a little bit of worry there though. So let's take a look at some of the stuff they talked about. So starting off with Doom. Doom looks brutal as hell. Like, oh my goodness. Some of those takedowns you can do where it's like snapping the neck, ripping guts out of people. It's like, oof, it's completely ridiculous. And there's that one part where in the trailer where I never played Doom, so I don't know the names of them, that skeleton with the rocket pack like comes down to strips your arms off. I kind of want to know if that's part of the story or not. And that might be enough to get me hooked to see where the game is going. As always with these gameplay trailers, I never trust what they're showing on there as far as like graphics wise, mainly because of the Watch Dogs incident with Ubisoft a while back, but we'll get into that later. Looks like that a lot of the story as well is told through the holographic projectors, which kind of gets me thinking maybe are they going to do something along the lines of silent storytelling, kind of like a Half-Life, but like no dialogue at all. Actually, more or less like the original games back then, where they didn't have voice acting, didn't even bother putting in any sort of written dialogue or read dialogue. But that'd be pretty neat, just like showing you the bits and pieces of everything that's happened there through just the holograms themselves. I mean, that'd be incredible if they could pull that off well. As far as the multiplayer goes, it looks like very much what is it? Fast-paced like Quake, like the Quake multiplayer. It kind of reminded me of that. From what I kind of gathered, I'm not trying to make like the absolute comparisons here, but it kind of reminded me more or less of like the Halo multiplayer, but more based around heavier weapons, a lot more fast-paced, and we saw the demonic powers there. I mean, like that looked really weird. That was kind of bizarre to me. Like I know there's like demons in hell and whatnot, but I never really thought about like the culmination of like, Avatar characters with the demon powers in Doom. Like I said, I've never really played the games that much, really. I played Doom 3 a little bit. But, so moving on from that, they also shared the SnapMap tool, which kind of has me a little bit worried for that reason I was talking about before with the paid mods. I get the feeling that with that and Bethesda.net, that platform they announced, I guess that's just like mostly Bethesda games, or all Bethesda games, what am I saying? But it just mainly seemed like it's the setup. It's the setup for them to do paid, to do like, them selling mods. That's just my speculation though. All this is more or less my opinion and speculation. Just thought I'd kind of throw it in there. I'd love to hear your guys' opinion. Leave them in the comments below. Yeah, SnapMap looked really good. It looked like the map editor kind of reminded me in a while back there was a game. While back there was a game called Time Splitters 2, or just Time Splitters. Actually, no, Time Splitters 2 had the map editor. And that had like the overhead map editor similar to what they were showing here. And they even had like multi-leveled and layered and all that. A little bit different this time around though, because in this one, in Doom's one, you've got the you can do like horde modes and like AI characters and what, and put them in there. Like that's something completely different, and I'd love to see what people do with that, because that seems so open-ended. That said, it does bring up the problem again with paid mods. Where are we going to go with this? Like, they're making this amazing tool for everybody to use. They're not going to want to expect nothing for it, But yeah, that's pretty much my opinions on that. We already talked about Bethesda.net, where it's like all the Bethesda titles and help distribute, help people distribute the mods from the, what the hell was it called? SnapMap, from the SnapMap there. So yeah, all around, it seems like pretty positive. But gotta wait and see, because it seems like it's still pretty early as far as Doom goes. Battlecry, they didn't really touch on that much. Like, they kind of went into it thinking that everybody already knew on it. And I've heard so many different titles of games that start with battle that were more or less only multiplayer arena-based things that I'm not entirely sure, like, what to believe anymore. Like, I heard Battleborn and, like, Battlecry came out. I think I heard Battlecry in, like, passing. But from what they showed there, I don't know if that was, they were expecting us to know more about it already. But from the looks of it, looked like kind of like a future medieval Team Fortress 2, like, class-based thing. The other thing, too, is that they didn't really get into whether it was more objective-based or more arena-based, where it's like, arena-based being, killing people dead, and that's how you score points, like death matches and whatnot. or objective-based ones like Capture the Flag or King of the Hill or things like that. Like to see where that goes. I mean, they've got that you can sign up for the beta, so I mean, like it'd probably be easy to tell what it is through that. Dishonored 2, I never played the first one, so take this with a grain of salt. Take my opinion on it with a grain of salt, as you would. So I like the bio-based power. That thing with like the slingshot across the across town. If it's not linear, if it's more open and you could do that, then that'd be pretty cool. I like the time manipulation as well in the trailer. They and also in the discussion there, they said you could play as the original character from Dishonored. So I don't think it takes too far. It doesn't take place too far past the events of that. I mean, when I initially saw it, someone going in blind to the Dishonored series, practically, it looked like, and from the very little I've seen of Dishonored, it looked like it was going into sort of like a more modern era. So unless the old character is practically immortal, and, you know, going into that, I don't know. We'll get to that bridge when we cross it. We'll learn. I'll probably play the game soon. I have it on Steam. I didn't even touch it. Like I said, please feel free to share your opinions on this. It's good that's getting, and it seems like nowadays they're abandoning the PS4 or the PS3 and the Xbox 360, which is weird because like they said they were going to support them for at least a little while longer, and then you get all these AAA titles coming out where it's like, oh, we're sorry, we're leaving you high and dry. Next thing they showed was Elder Scrolls Online. Basically just looked like update stuff. I played Elder Scrolls Online for a little bit. Honestly, didn't impress me at all. Mostly because they had to do all the balancing. They basically gutted the Elder Scrolls, like the base Elder Scrolls mechanics of like this free roaming, this like adventuring thing, in lieu of a more safe, more balanced, area. Which I can understand because it's an MMO, and if you made it like completely unbalanced, if you made it similar to, the Elder Scrolls as it is, where you can pretty much go anywhere and everything's like, you could take on everything easily, then you'd have issues with people where it's like higher level versus lower level. But we did see some things. We saw like in that trailer, we saw the Orsinium, the home of the orcs, which I think that looks pretty cool. They showed the Fallen Imperial City, which, being a huge fan of Oblivion, is kind of heartbreaking to me, just saying. And the Dark Brotherhood teaser, which if you like the game, then that seems pretty good to get excited about. After that, they showed the Elder Scrolls Legends, which, from that trailer, it looks like Hearthstone. I'm not gonna lie, it looks exactly like, okay, it looks a little bit more darker, a little bit more serious, but like the graphic style of like the art where it's like the 2D art on 3D planes with like the bits of movement on there. They did like in the I'm just gonna keep comparing this to Hearthstone, honestly. But it's free to play, it's a card-based game. I'm kind of expecting another Magic the Gathering clone similar to what Hearthstone is. Like I said, I'm gonna keep referencing it. Free to play though, so try it out. If you don't like it, then don't. Now for the big one, they went. Oh my god, I'm gonna save that one for last. They went into a game on the iOS for free, which I'm downloading right now as I'm recording this video. Called Fallout Shelter, only on iOS. But it seems really cool that you can kind of like create your own vault, and you can kind of have that sort of like meta experience of like what it's like to run a vault. I mean, if you look at some of the descriptions for vaults from like older Fallout games, some of them were really messed up. So I don't think you'd go as far as to do that, because there were like, what was it? There were a couple. It was like Vault 68 and 69, where it's like they put 1,000 men and 1 woman in one vault. They put 1,000 women and 1 man in the other vault. And basically what ended up happening was that the single man and the single woman both ended up dying. That's pretty much the gist of it. And I think maybe you could create something like that in there, but I have a feeling it's not that open-ended. I have more of a feeling it's just like, okay, we've got this sim vault here, so we're going to put, this here, this here, this here. We're going to send you out into the field. It looks like it doesn't require too much attention, though. I mean, like, it seems like it's one of those games where it's only going to be active as you're playing it. No time barriers either, which they said, which is really cool. The only thing you really have to pay you don't have to pay for anything, but the only thing you could pay for is those lunch boxes that get you sort of like the power-ups and whatnot. And that seems like it seems a lot of fun for a free-to-play game. Although, people are obviously going to buy the lunch boxes because, even though you don't want to, like, one of the rules of DLC is that if it's there, people will buy it. Other rule is that it's not required for the game. Tell it to the time barrier people. And the big one. Oh, wow, Fallout 4. I've never really been a big fan of the Fallout series. I much prefer the Elder Scrolls, but considering where that's gone recently, you know, kind of about ready to jump off the Elder Scrolls train onto the Fallout train. But they showed off a lot of good stuff. There's like a lot of attention to like a lot of that attention to detail, like the artist renditions of the in-game landmarks and the character designs, and like the various mutants and robots you'll come across. And they got all that stuff where it's like you got the pre-nuclear war, which is where you design your character, and like both the avatars are like a couple, and it's like that's how you choose it. That's where it's like whoever is in the mirror last is the one that you choose. It just seems so cool. That's amazing to me. That's just like that little bit of integrating story into gameplay. Like integrating where it's not just like, oh, you create your character and then you're more or less sent off. No, it's like, okay, so I could do anything I want with this character creator, and then that gets implemented in the game. Like your baby looks different depending on how you make the male or female character there. And then the Vault Tech guy who comes up to the door and is like, oh, I just need you to fill this form, and that's how you distribute your stats. Like, I love that sort of integration of story to gameplay. I'm a little bit speechless on it, but I'm just gushing about that. Like, that's the tip of the iceberg. That's the tip of the iceberg. So then, what is it? Like, you got the interactive menus with the Pip-Boy, and they're talking about, like, the layered armor system, which, you know, a lot of games generally need that, where you can have, like, a lighter armor underneath and then have, like, an over armor to it. You know, just little things like that. Let's see, what else do we got here? I'm just looking at my notes here. Sorry about that. They brought back VATS. It doesn't pause the game, but it does slow it down. So it seems like that's changed. I don't know how that's going to improve or not. It seems like, you know, a little from column A, a little from column B. Some things will be different that you don't like. Some things will be different that you do like. Let's see. Oh, the Pip-Boy. They also included the game tapes, and it's like the one where it's like the... I don't remember what the game is called, but basically like the alien invaders. So you got the little gun going back and forth with the barriers on it. And the other one with the... basically, it was Donkey Kong. It was like a Pip-Boy version of Donkey Kong. Like, that's pretty neat that you have all these like little mini games in there. It's like that sort of thing feels like they're creating an entire world and not just a game, you know? It's really good. Also, that collector's edition with the Pip-Boy, not gonna lie, I really want that. I'm sure a lot of other people want that. They're gonna be very limited. I'm sure scalpers are gonna buy them up like Amiibo. I love the dude's line during the presentation, too. It's the best fucking gimmick. Enough gushing, though. They kind of like took a break from that to talk about Fallout Shelter, but then they came back to it to talk about the crafting in there, where it's like you could build like these settlements, kind of similar to, in the later Assassin's Creed games, where you have like the villa or like the island in Assassin's Creed 4, except a lot more open-ended, where you have like the power, you have like power grids, you can design it any way you like to. Not to mention, like, the crafting with, with the weapons and armor and whatnot, like, customize the power armor, or the way that you do the weapons, where it's like, you can get pieces of weapons from various parts of the world. So it's like, for a glass, you need, like, the front of an alarm clock, or, like, a chunk of window, or for, like, a bit of metal, you know, you grab, like an old phone, or, like, the piece off of a car, or something like that. Like, it's very open-ended. I feel like this is the kind of game where if it does well, and I mean does well and is like supremely open-ended, this game could last like a long time, like probably up until like Fallout 4. Hell, Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas are still being played to this day by a lot of people. But yeah, that was Bethesda's presentation. Overall, very positive. Some of the stuff, it's a little bit too early to tell. For example, Elder Scrolls Legends, where it was just a teaser, and Dishonored 2, where all it was a pre-rendered trailer. Doom, they didn't really show too much, or they showed gameplay, but the gameplay they show, like I said, the Watch Dogs incident, with the fact that they showed the trailer where it's like all these like intense graphics, and then the game came out and it wasn't really as good looking. But yeah, overall, I think Bethesda nailed their showcase, and I can't wait to see more from them. I'm going to be following pretty closely. Hope you guys do too. I will see you all again for the next discussion on the next conference. See you all later.